Hey, happy Wednesday, hump day, camel, Ustrasana pose. This is Quan Tracy Cherry, and we've got a full moon in Leo tomorrow. That's the chart that you're seeing on the screen right now. And full moons are a couple days before, the day of, and then 2 days after. And when most of the lore was being talked about regarding our full moons back with our ancestors and the rest of that, uh, the full moon is as large as the sun from the viewpoint of the earth. So realize that her power, her ability to move waters and to move the water in our little paltry bodies can suggest that in direct proportion to how much you deny your subconscious instincts or your feelings are somehow less than your thoughts, the more revenge that she's going to get in these 5 days out of the month. And this one is particularly special because Pluto, who by some accounts Pluto is pays homage to the deep dark feminine in his marriage or relationship to Persephone. A lot of times those patriarchal myths kind of interjected as they absorbed the feminine from the cultures and what was already going on. Because remember, women were the first mathematicians. There was no skirmishes that we heard about between Pluto and Persephone. And when she came up from the underworld, she had her own level of power that she worked through as a medium and as a mediator in that way, as the daughter of Ceres. Well, I've gotten off the point a little bit, but just know Aquarius as a sign is as far away from Leo. So that's why they say Aquarius, the sun is in its detriment or whatever. I don't tend to go into that kind of binary, but it is necessary to understand that each of the air signs, Gemini, the twins, Libra is the scales, because who's measuring those scales? And Aquarius, the water bearer, they're human or they're on the circle of animals. So Aquarius season is the time where we join our thoughts, our elevated thoughts, our higher ideals with our animal nature. That's why you notice some of the tarot cards with Aquarius, with the star card being associated with it, a lot of times the individual is nude. So it represents an openness. And without a transparency to their ideals, their higher and inclusive ideals, Aquarians, uh, come on, that's part of what they're here to do is to to take note of what's coming up for the future while knowing our history and then being able to blend that together in an inclusive present. Now, this new moon, or excuse me, this full moon has the moon in Leo. That's what it means, that there's the sun and moon are as far apart from each other as they can be. The moon is out of bounds. Leo's the heart, individual effort, individual participation, how we nurture ourselves and those closest to us, those who are in our families. Now, Leo can develop a certain pride in their effort, which is nothing wrong with that. But when the pride is wounded, how much of that is coming from unmet expectations? And so this full moon with Jupiter sitting at the middle between the sun and moon over here in Taurus. And there's Taurus rising, well, Uranus rising in Taurus in Kansas City. We can suggest the unexpected, the fact that Jupiter, I mean, if we just use the Chiefs as an example, the Jupiter energy of the KC Chiefs would be everybody hating on us, everybody having envy about the success of our star quarterback and his generous ways in which he moves through the world. But how this relates to us personally is Jupiter and the sun is about managing one's overconfidence, managing one's intangible assets. It's one thing to be confident, and it's another thing to be arrogant. I mean, it's even said that Prince was, was on took drugs or medication for his stage fright because he had such an arrogant persona. But ultimately, when you saw him interviewed, he was really shy. And so arrogance is often overcompensating measure. So Sun, Jupiter, Moon, all in fixed signs, gives Scorpio as the empty space there. Now there is Athena over there, and Scorpio is on the seventh house cusp of this full moon. So it really is about regenerating our efforts of connecting to others, regenerating our egos, allowing ourselves to go into the mystery of our connections and our commitments, and being transparent about those commitments as well. Now, Pluto is leading that moon, I mean, excuse me, that sun. You know, the sun is at 5-6 and Pluto's at the first degree of Aquarius. So the planet in front of the sun is sort of like the announcer of the sovereign. So Pluto is announcing that we're here to transform, we're here to regenerate, we're here to get beyond the physical form to see how idealistically we're all connected on an intellectual level. And then how do we steep that down into the physical world? Well, Uranus has, and Taurus has been telling us that for the last 5 years about regenerating in a shock value, because Uranus sends a shock in a way that changes our values, how we spend our time, how we spend our money, with whom do we choose to connect with. Now, Venus is the ruler of this chart. She just moved into Capricorn, and she is kind of having a dance with that moon in Leo, the Saturn in Pisces, and even that Pluto in Aquarius. So, what she's saying in Cap is she's leading us to responsible, mature love, how we exchange ourselves responsibly, not accountable. We're accountable when we do wrong or when we feel ourselves as guilty or not measuring up to whatever standards have been placed by parents, mentors, authority figures, or religion. So Venus in Cap is saying, with a Saturn in Pisces and a Neptune in Pisces, is saying compassion is everything. Be all about it and start that at home. Now, the beautiful thing about having a full moon in Leo is that the Aquarius Leo integrated axis, they complement each other through wanting recognition for their efforts. Aquarius wants to make their recognition based on what they do for the larger community. The more, the merrier. Yes, they can get into a quantity over quality, the number of followers, the number of people they've affected. But what about the message? And the more that Aquarius can be the reflective water mirror, water contains memory. So we contain the memory, we contain the feeling. Because without an acknowledgement of the emotional memory, when Aquarians, and by extension, all of us, when we don't acknowledge the power of memory, the power of our feelings, what those memories leave within our bodies, then we're more likely to become fanatical, brusque, crass, the quintessential rebel without a cause. And the Leo moon tempers that because she says, no, you need to have a heart, the skin in the game. You need to have your heart, your passions, your personal loyalty to your own inner truth in the game, for sure. And with, the Mars conjunct Mercury in Capricorn, we can have the toddler Mars, trying to act out, although he loves, loves, loves Capricorn, and maybe speaking before we really have all the facts. But as long as our efforts are based on inclusiveness, then I don't necessarily think a Mars and Capricorn would be judged or be judging others too harshly. And we do have a grand Earth trine when we include commitment, equality seeking Juno in Virgo, trining the Uranus and Taurus, and that Mercury Mars conjunction in Cap. That gives us the resources to understand our values, what we have to offer freely, Taurus. The Virgo energy is how we discern when to be of service and when not to, and to be more attached to the process of how we give instead of what we receive. And also, what is the finished product? Because it's often in the process. And that's why I love my cost accounting background, because you have a whole accounting line item called work in progress, the cost of goods sold, things that are not quite finished yet. And then, of course, with love, Venus, Mercury, communication, and magic, and Mars, action warrior, let's get it done yesterday, all in mature. How do we discourage disharmony in Capricorn? You can pretty much bet a couple of fat men and women and people and whatever, with or without Ozempic, that our lessons come down to how maturely we not only give love, but how we receive it as well. Because it's really easy with Aquarius Leo to get into, I know what's best for you, I know what's good for you, and get caught up in relating to people's potentials as if you're some kind of extraterrestrial instead of coming down here and being human with the rest of us. Hey, tonight, if you're still listening, I'm going to do fourth Wednesdays at Equal Minded Cafe, 6 p.m. This one will specifically talk about 2024 and the 8 guidelines that I talk about for 2024. That's on the blog. My blog, Belief is Not Required. And so every fourth Wednesday, uh, we'll be joined by, hopefully, be joined by our raw material co-founder, Tavish Carter, and we'll talk about how to integrate the essence of astrological signs. And this time I have music for each of the 12 signs. So I hope to see you tonight at 6 p.m. And if you can't make it physically, then I plan to do a live broadcast. But thank you and for listening. I'll see you soon. Bye.